And good morning. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. It is Thursday, and that sound means it is time for another 3 fugitives to be featured in Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Every week, we work with Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County, as well as the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, to feature 3 individuals who are wanted. They are more than likely on our streets. You can claim a reward and help get them in front of a judge where they belong to answer to these serious charges. Going to bring in, as always, from the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, Detective Nick Riegelmayer. Detective, how are you today?
Great. Good morning,
Thanks. Good morning. Thanks for joining us yet again. When we start talking serious charges, we've seen it all here, from murder all the way down. Today, our first case, we're looking at an attempted murder charge. Let's walk through the case of LaShawn Malone. What do we know?
So LaShawn Malone has original charges that date back from 2 separate incidences. The first being August of 2021, and that he walked into a victim's house while the person was playing video games and shot him, and then left the residence prior to police arrival. The second incident took place back in July of 2022, where he bailed out of a vehicle trying to get away from police, and a foot pursuit involved. During that, he threw a weapon out of the vehicle, and he just kept running. He's described as 6 foot and 220 pounds. He was last known to be staying over at the 1800 block of Morrison Avenue here in the city of Cleveland.
Again, anytime we see attempted murder charges, this is somebody that apparently is accused of walking into a home, just shooting an individual. This is an individual that needs to be off our streets. Let's get to our second case. Wayne T. Phillips, who has a record, goes back quite a ways. What do we know?
Wayne Phillips is wanted for failing to report to the sheriff's office with his registered address, and he is a violent repeat offender. He was notified this past month to answer those charges, where he failed to show up in court. He has a violent past that goes all the way back to 1975, and prior convictions for felonious assaults, aggravated robberies, aggravated burglary, multiple theft warrants, and resisting arrest. He has an additional charge out right now for the State Adult Parole Authority for prior assault charges. Wayne Phillips is described as being 6'2" and 190 pounds, and he's staying over at the 12,500 block of Summerlin Avenue here in the city of Cleveland.
Serious case there as well. In the past here on Cuyahoga's Most Wanted, as you might imagine, anytime we see a felony assault, it's usually with a weapon involved, and we have just about seen it all, so it always catches my attention when we see a new weapon, something that's unique. Of course, we've seen everything from guns and knives to steak knives. We've seen felony assault charges for the use of a beer bottle, a chair, a frying pan, a baseball bat. But today we get another first, a new weapon of choice. Let's walk through the case of Robert Booker. What do we know?
We know that Robert Booker is currently on probation in 2 cases with Cuyahoga County for failing to verify his residence and for escape. Now he's wanted on a 3rd case. So in April of this year, it's alleged that he attacked the victim with a fire poker. He's also being charged under a new Ohio law for strangulation, where it's alleged that he also strangled the victim. He has a violent criminal history that dates back with the sheriff's office all the way back to December of 1997. And he's been in and out of prison multiple times. This includes a guilty plea of sexual battery in '98. So Robert Booker is 5'10" and 225 pounds, and was alleged to be staying in the area of 3,500 block of East 154th Street here in the city of Cleveland.
Fire poker, really anything could be used as a weapon. Think about hitting somebody with a remote control. Suddenly that remote control became a weapon, and you can be charged with felony assault. Obviously a fire poker a lot more serious than somebody using a remote control in an attack. And then we see that strangulation charge. It was April that in the state of Ohio, normally if you had strangled someone, you just were charged with assault. Now it is its own separate charge, felony assault, and then the charge of strangulation, and there are different categories within that, whether you knew the individual, whether the individual was pregnant. There are a bunch of different penalties as we break down strangulation. Detective, we have 3 cases out there now, 3 more individuals we need off the street. People can earn a reward. This is very simple. You don't have to worry about your name getting out there. You don't have to worry about being a snitch. Walk us through why people should feel comfortable calling into Crime Stoppers, calling in a tip.
Well, we do not have caller ID at all. The phone calls are not recorded, and we take none of your identifying information. The calls are totally anonymous. You grab the tip number, you wait about 45 days, and you can get up to a reward of $5,000.
216-252-7463. It is that simple. You call into that number. You are given a tip line, your tip identifying number. Let's say you were the 3,000th caller. Your tip number is 3,000. That way, 45 days later, you call in. You say, hey, my tip number was 3,000. They can look up to see if your tip led to an arrest and if you're eligible for that up to $5,000 reward. Detective, when we start talking about reward money, what do we like people to know?
That crime doesn't pay, but Crime Stoppers does.
Crime Stoppers absolutely pays. They pay in reward money. This is simple. If you're watching this on social media, you hit that share button. We know we can propagate this throughout social media. We can make our streets safer, and we also know that this program is working. 48% of the people that we have featured since back in November when we started have either been turned themselves in, have either had a tip called on them or been caught. A lot of those called tips are direct results for their capture because somebody like you watched this, said, hey, I know where that person is. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to get some reward money, and calls in a tip. Detective, we've featured another 3. Let's hope we have success getting them off our street, making the community a little bit safer. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, take care, Detective. That's going to wrap it up for Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Remember, our 11 o'clock news is just 20 minutes away on CW 43, and then our noon news on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now. Have a great afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps